Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. It's first impressions time again. The Cutty Sark, a classic ship, classic artwork. Is this a classic kit? So we're reviewing another kit that was on sale widely through some of the budget supermarkets in the run-up to Christmas. And the first thing that hits you is the artwork. It's a beautiful piece of artwork, but you can tell that the style of the presentation isn't a digital one, so isn't modern one, and that gets you wondering, how old is the kit? And when you flip it over, it does tell you it's above board. 1955 tooling. So I'm not sure what to expect in this because I haven't opened it as yet. But why is it in a red box? I know it's been sold as arranged through a supermarket, and it may be the supermarket's insisted on the red box. But for me, that should be being marketed as a vintage classic, because that's what it is. Let's take a look at the contents. Right, so this is our box contents. We've got a bag with our glue and paints. We've got a number 2 Humboldt brush, which I will put in my rack straight away. And then we've got a bag of parts. We'll come back to that, and our instructions. Our 4 paints are essentially copper and black, which we'll be using on the hull, and then white. I think they class it as cream or ivory or light stone or something like that. Without checking my paint reference spreadsheet, I'm not sure what Humboldt 103 is off the top of my head, but you've got 4 paints there and a tube of poly glue. So putting that to one side, let's have a look at the instructions. So our instructions are folded up, but they are A4, usual sort of format, not stapled. And when we open it up, we can see that we've got a little bit of history in multiple languages, assembly instructions and assembly icons, as per usual. The instructions look very simple. We're at step 1. Yeah, I mean, look at that. There's a lot more languages than there is actual instructions. Step 1, build all the hull. Step 2, add the masts. Step 3, add the sails and yards. Step 4, add some more sails. That is it. 4 build steps. Okay, that shouldn't be difficult then, should it? We do have some decals, and even though this is a 1955 tooling and it's a budget kit, we do have depth markers. So, kudos to Airfix for bothering to do that, because so many companies don't bother with depth markers, as people who follow my channel know. And then we've got this Cutty Sark logo, so I'm not sure if that is for the stern or there's a stand included. Let's have a look at the parts. Also point out that those decals are actually cartograph. So although they're probably a reproduction of the original decal sheet, they have been done by cartograph, so there won't be any issues with getting those down. So rather than having sprues, we've got the older style trees. And we can see that means we've got multiple parts. So we've got 1, 2, 3 main trees, and then 2 which have a little bit of the hull in place. And we can also see that we do have a stand. So there and there are our stand components. So let's have a look at our hulls first. So we've got two hull halves. All the detail is raised on them, as we'd expect for the age, and they're a little bit lumpy bumpy in places, but they're not too bad. It's got a moulded on rudder, which the detail is all but disappearing in. Yeah, you probably want to sand this detail off and then maybe make some little squares of plastic card and put them on just to sharpen that up, but possibly leave the detail around the bow. Should go together okay. Looks like it's fairly straight, there's no warpage. So yeah, there is a little bit of sink in the bottom there. Basically where you've got the two pins, you've got some sink. But yeah, I mean, you can see the size of it. It's not going to be big. If we look at this first tree, we've got our base, and even though we've got a decal, we do have the lettering for the Cutty Sark on there, so we could sand that off and put the decal on. It needs a little bit of tidy up anyway. Our sails are quite flashy, a bit lumpy, chunky. Yeah, as is the masts that it's swinging off. We've got little slots in a couple of the sails. That's for these sails to go in. And you can see already that the slot is nowhere near as chunky as the mating piece. So quite a bit of work to get these bits to fit together, I think. We've got three ship's boats there, full of flash and masses of ejector pin, really deep ejector pin marks to tidy up. Yeah, it's not amazing. More sails here. These are the forward facing ones, and these do have some detail on, so you'll be able to pick that out with a wash. But the yard arms are as thick as the top of the mast should be, so these are really, really chunky. So they're not going to look fabulous. You might want to replace the yards, remove these, cut the yards off, and then maybe put the sails back on. It's a possible option. And then this last tree has our masts on, and they are really, really chunky, massively chunky, with massive location holes in these massive bases, and the whole thing's out of proportion. There's no side detail as you'd expect, so a couple of skylights is pretty much your limitation. Deck detail, that just wants sanding off really at this scale. There's no point putting deck detail on, and then, you know, it's raised detail anyway. Yeah, there you go. That is the parts. Well, there you have it. That is what you get in the Cutty Ark set. And unlike the Mary Rose set that's sold again amongst the supermarkets running up to Christmas, this isn't one that you should hunt out as something that you can make a nice display piece with. This needs an awful lot of work, and then you're still going to end up with a model that is less than satisfactory, I would think. I think this tooling has had its day, and they would be better scrapping the tooling and getting what money they can for it than to keep churning this out. And I'll tell you for why. Reputation. Somebody got this for Christmas and might have never built a model before, and they get this, and this is their benchmark on what a model is like when they build a model. And they get that and they think, what a load of tripe, and they probably don't finish it, and they probably never pick up a model ever again. That's my problem with churning out a kit like this. And they will have sold thousands of these probably. So that's thousands of people who are going to end up being disappointed, and that's what they see. And next time they see that, they'll remember the disappointment. So why are we still peddling it? You know, for someone who grew up building models in the 60s and 70s, they can put that together and probably have a bit of fun and reminisce. So as a vintage classic, it's got some merit, but even then it's got less than many of them. For me, this has had its day and they shouldn't be selling it, and they're not doing the modelling community, the hobby as a whole, any services whatsoever chucking that out. That is one to avoid, and I very rarely say that about Airfix, but that isn't something that you should search out. Just avoid it. Not worth the money. Okay, take care everyone, enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you soon.